Ladies and gentlemen, entrepreneurs, kings and queens in the making, listen up. If you're not where you want to be in life, in your business, in your bank account, or in your belief system, then I came here to tell you the truth. You're not waiting on God. God is waiting on you. It's time to force yourself to level up. Let me break it down into 4 keys. And if you apply these, not just hear them, but do them, your life will never be the same. Most people are not powerless. They're just unclear. They're not lacking talent, intelligence, or potential. What they're lacking is direction. You cannot drive at full speed if you don't know where you're going. You can't hit a target you don't see. That's why the first step in leveling up your life is not hustle, it's not grind, it's clarity, because clarity creates power. Now, let me ask you something. If God showed up right now and said, what do you want? What are you building? What have you been praying for? Could you answer him clearly? Could you answer him confidently? Or would you stumble around in generalities and vague aspirations, saying things like, I just want to be successful, or I want to help people, or I just want more? More of what? Help who? Be successful at what? Let me tell you something. God is not the author of confusion. He operates in specificity, in order, in precision. If your vision is foggy, your execution will be flawed. And Habakkuk 2:2, God says, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. You see what that means? Clarity leads to movement. When your vision is plain, you can run. But when it's vague, you stall. Most people don't have a procrastination problem. They have a vision problem. They can't get moving because they don't know exactly where they're headed. Think about this. If you had a map, but no destination, would the map help you? No. It would just confuse you. A strategy without a clear outcome is wasted energy. And too many of us are out here trying to grow businesses, heal relationships, get fit, make money, but we're doing it without a clear, specific, measurable vision of what we're trying to create. That's why we're tired. That's why we're frustrated. That's why we're burnt out. We're doing a lot, but accomplishing little. Now, let me talk to your inner entrepreneur for a minute. If you're running a business and you can't clearly articulate what you do, who you serve, how you serve them, and why it matters, then you don't have a business. You've got a hustle. Hustles wear you out. Clarity gives you leverage. When you're clear, you can communicate your offer powerfully. When you're clear, you can attract the right clients, repel the wrong ones, and charge what you're worth. When you're clear, you become magnetic. But here's the trap. We confuse complexity with depth. We think the more complicated something is, the more advanced it must be. That's a lie. Confusion kills conversion. Simplicity sells. So when I say make it plain, I don't mean dumb it down. I mean hone it in. Strip away the fluff, strip away the fear, strip away the overthinking, and get laser focused on the result you're here to create. Clarity doesn't come from talking, it comes from making decisions. The root word of decision is to cut. When you get clear, you cut off distractions, you cut off backup plans, you cut off comparison. Clarity demands that you choose a lane and own it. And yes, that might be scary. Yes, that might mean letting go of good to go after great. But ambiguity is the enemy of destiny. As long as you're trying to do everything, you won't master anything. Let me tell you something else. Clarity isn't a personality trait. It's a discipline. You don't wake up with clarity. You fight for it. You sit with the hard questions. You wrestle with your calling. You pray, you plan, you write. You ask God to remove every lie, every fear, every limiting belief that's clouding your mind, because when your mind is cluttered, your vision is clouded. And when your vision is clouded, your life is delayed. Some of you are one decision away from your breakthrough, but you won't make it because you're afraid to get specific. You're afraid to commit. You're afraid to choose. But the moment you choose, the moment you stop dabbling and decide, power shows up. The moment you make your vision plain, heaven gets behind it. Resources start moving. People show up. Opportunities open. Not because you suddenly became more worthy, but because you finally became more clear. Think about how God moved in the Bible. When Noah got clear on the ark, the rain came. When Moses got clear on his assignment, the sea parted. When Jesus got clear on the cross, redemption was released. Clarity activates calling, confusion delays destiny. And many of you are stuck not because you're lazy, but because you're double-minded. James 1:8 says, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. When you're unclear, you'll start, stop, pivot, panic, restart, quit, and blame everyone else. But when you're clear, you become unstoppable. When you're clear, you walk in authority. When you're clear, you attract favor. So today, don't just pray for a miracle, pray for a clear mission. Don't just hustle harder. Get still long enough to hear from the one who gave you the vision in the first place. Then write it, speak it, live it. Because once you're clear, you're dangerous. And once you're dangerous, you're ready to level up. One of the biggest lies holding people back from greatness is the belief that you have to feel ready before you act, that you need more time, more preparation, more knowledge, more money, more confidence, more clarity, more validation. But let me ask you something. How long are you going to keep using that excuse? How many more weeks, months, or years are you going to wait for the perfect moment? Let me give you the truth that might sting a little. The perfect moment doesn't exist. You're not supposed to wait until you're ready. You're supposed to commit before you're ready. See, we've been conditioned to think readiness is a feeling, but it's not. Readiness is a decision. Commitment doesn't wait for confidence. Commitment creates confidence. And until you step into the unknown, until you take the leap, you'll never feel qualified to do the thing you were born to do. You're not lacking preparation. You're lacking the courage to move while uncertain. Go read your Bible. All throughout Scripture, God calls people before they feel qualified. Moses had a stutter. Gideon was hiding. Jeremiah said he was too young, and yet God still called them, not because they were ready, but because they were willing. God doesn't anoint the prepared, he prepares the anointed. That means you have to move in obedience before you see the outcome. When God told Joshua to lead the Israelites into the promised land, he didn't say, Joshua, once you feel brave, once you feel confident, once your leadership skills are sharpened, then go. No, he said, be strong and courageous, for I am with you. God gave the command before he gave the outcome, and that's how he still operates today. He gives you a vision, and then he waits to see if you'll act on it. Not later, not someday, now. Let's be real. Most people don't take action because they're afraid of failure, but let me shift your perspective. Failure isn't final, it's formative. Failure doesn't disqualify you, it develops you. You don't gain mastery by waiting. You gain it by doing, by messing up, by learning, by trying again. The person who wins isn't the person who waits for perfect timing. The winner is the one who steps into the fire knowing that God will meet them in the flame. Your problem isn't lack of opportunity, it's lack of decision. You haven't decided to commit. You're still playing small. You're still straddling the fence. You've got 1 foot in your calling and 1 foot in your comfort zone. But here's the hard truth. You will never dominate anything you're still dabbling in. If you want to level up, you have to go all in. You can't kind of pursue purpose. You can't sort of obey God. You can't halfway build a vision and expect full favor. You must commit. Commitment means doing it when it's inconvenient, when it's scary, when it's unpopular, when you're misunderstood, when nobody claps, when no one is watching. Commitment is the decision to show up faithfully even when you feel unqualified. Because here's the secret. Every master once felt like an imposter, but they acted anyway. Let me talk to the entrepreneurs, the visionaries, the leaders in waiting. The idea that's in your heart was planted by God. That business, that book, that ministry, that movement, that's not just your dream. That's your assignment. And you don't get to delay it just because you're nervous. You think you're waiting on resources. You're not. You're waiting on resolve. Resources follow resolve. The universe moves in the direction of decision. Heaven partners with boldness. Doors don't open to hesitation. They open to commitment. When you commit, you start building momentum, and momentum creates miracles. Have you noticed how things start aligning once you finally make up your mind? Have you noticed how the people, the support, the ideas, the opportunities begin to show up, not before you commit, but after? That's not coincidence. That's divine response. God doesn't pour out provision on potential. He pours it out on purpose, in motion. Stop asking for signs and confirmations when you already know what you're supposed to do. The longer you delay, the more you disobey. You don't need another webinar, another podcast, another course. You need to stop overthinking and start overtrusting. There comes a point when gathering more information becomes procrastination in disguise. There comes a moment where the only way forward is through action. Let me make it real plain. Commitment doesn't mean you'll never feel fear. It means you do it afraid. It means you obey even when you're unsure. It means you start the business with the money you do have. You start the book with the words you do know. You start the ministry with the people who are listening now. You use what's in your hand and you trust God to multiply it. Just like the 5 loaves and 2 fish, it only became more after it was offered. Your life will begin to change the moment you stop negotiating with your calling, the moment you stop praying for comfort and start praying for courage, the moment you stop asking, am I ready, and start declaring, I'm committed. Because readiness is not a requirement, it's a reward of obedience. And God is not looking for perfect people, He's looking for committed ones. So whatever's in your heart right now, whatever God has placed on your spirit, don't wait, don't delay, don't shrink, commit before you're ready. Because obedience always precedes overflow. Let's cut through the noise. You can't build a business if you're afraid to sell. You can't make money if you won't make offers. You can't grow if you won't ask. And if that makes you uncomfortable, that's exactly the conversation you need to have. Because this isn't just about business, it's about mindset. If you won't learn how to sell, you've already decided to stay stuck. Sell or stay stuck. That's it. There is no third option. See, people love the idea of entrepreneurship until it comes time to ask for the sale. They'll spend hours designing logos, tweaking websites, editing content, but the moment it's time to actually tell somebody what they do and ask to be paid for it, they fold, they hesitate, they water it down. Why? Because they've been taught that sales is manipulative, that making money is greedy, or that asking for value somehow makes them less spiritual. That's a lie. That's a poverty mindset wrapped in false humility, and it's keeping people broke, bitter, and buried under potential they refuse to activate. Let's be clear, sales is not begging. Sales is not coercion. Sales is service. If what you offer solves a real problem, then you have a moral obligation to let people know about it. If your product or service improves someone's life, business, health, marriage, or mindset, and you don't tell them, you're not being humble. You're being selfish. Right? Hiding your gift doesn't protect people. It deprives them. When God gives you something that helps others, you're called to release it, not hoard it. The Bible says a man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men, but it can't make room for you if you refuse to present it. You can't be afraid to show up, speak up, and sell up. The gift makes room, but only when you activate it. Now, I already know what some people are thinking. But I don't want to come off too salesy. Let me flip that. If what you offer genuinely helps people, then not selling is selfish. Imagine having the cure for a disease and keeping it to yourself because you didn't want to come off as pushy. That's not noble. That's negligent. People are out here struggling, stuck, and suffering, and you've got a solution. So sell it boldly, confidently, unapologetically. And don't just sell anything. Sell with conviction, sell with clarity, sell with love. Because when you sell something you believe in, sales becomes service. It becomes a transfer of belief. The moment someone says yes to your offer, they're not just buying a product, they're buying a possibility, a future, a transformation. But if you're unclear about your offer, if you're shaky on your value, if you're questioning your worth, you'll sabotage the sale before it starts. That's why before you sell to others, you have to sell yourself. You have to believe that what you offer is valuable, transformational, and worth every penny. Until you believe that, no one else will. This is where most people stay stuck. They've got talent, they've got ideas, but they don't package it, they don't price it, they don't promote it. They wait for someone to discover them. Let me help you. Discovery is not a strategy. Hope is not a business model. If you want to get out of survival mode and step into overflow, you must create offers and make offers. Not once, not when you feel like it, every single day. An offer is not just a product, it's a solution to a problem. People don't buy products, they buy outcomes. They don't buy coaching, they buy clarity. They don't buy courses, they buy confidence. They don't buy services, they buy speed, results, and relief. The better you get at articulating that value, the easier it becomes to sell, because people don't care what you do, they care what you do for them. Now let's talk pricing. If you're undercharging, you're not just hurting your business, you're hurting your clients, because when people don't invest, they don't commit. And when they don't commit, they don't transform. Price communicates value. When you raise your price, you raise the level of seriousness on both sides. You show that your solution is not cheap, and you attract people who are ready to change. Listen, God didn't give you your gift just to inspire people. He gave it to you to impact people. And impact requires exchange. You pour out value, they pour in investment. That's how cycles of transformation are created. That's how people grow. That's how businesses scale. And that's how you step out of the hamster wheel of survival and into the rhythm of supernatural provision. If you're still not convinced, look around. Every successful person you admire is making consistent, clear, powerful offers. They're not better than you. They're just bolder. And they've decided that making money and making a difference are not mutually exclusive. They're connected. In fact, the more you earn, the more you can serve. You can't fund the mission if you're afraid of the money. You can't build a movement if you're allergic to sales. So the next time you hesitate to sell, ask yourself, do I believe in what I offer? Do I believe in who I help? Do I believe that their life is better when they work with me? If the answer is yes, then you have no excuse not to sell, because every day you don't make an offer is a day someone stays stuck in a problem you could solve. Sell or stay stuck. The choice is yours. But don't let fear keep you from the freedom God already assigned to you. You've got the gift, now make the offer. Your environment is either pushing you toward your purpose or pulling you away from it. There is no neutral ground. You are not just shaped by what you believe, you are shaped by what you're around. The people you allow into your space, the words you listen to, the atmosphere you normalize, those are not background details. That's the soil your life is growing in. And if you don't learn to elevate your environment, don't be surprised when your growth feels stunted. Don't be shocked when your calling feels heavy. A low environment cannot support a high-level assignment. Too many people are praying for elevation while staying planted in toxic, limited, or stagnant surroundings. They're asking God to bless them, but they're still hanging around people who curse their potential with small talk, small dreams, and small faith. Let me tell you something. You cannot fly like an eagle while nesting with chickens. You cannot walk in authority while entertaining mediocrity. And you cannot unlock overflow while clinging to environments that drain you spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. There comes a point where your environment is not just inconvenient, it becomes disobedient. You can't ask God to take you to the next level and then keep going back to the same places, same people, same energy that broke you. You can't keep surrounding yourself with people who don't honor your anointing and then wonder why you doubt it. Exposure matters. Atmosphere matters. And sometimes obedience looks like leaving the familiar so you can step into the fruitful. In Genesis 12, God tells Abram, leave your country, your people, and your father's household and go to the land I will show you. You see that? Before God even revealed the full promise, he told Abram to leave the environment. Why? Because elevation starts with separation. You can't access new instructions with old influences in your ear. You can't operate in a kingdom mindset when you're surrounded by people who worship comfort, conformity, and compromise. Let me make it real. Some of you aren't stuck because you lack potential. You're stuck because your circle is too small for your calling. You're surrounded by people who celebrate the old version of you and get uncomfortable around your growth. Every time you start to rise, they remind you of who you used to be. Every time you try to shift, they pull you back to the familiar. That's not support. That's sabotage. And you have to be bold enough to call it what it is. You were not born to fit in. You were born to stand out. But standing out requires changing rooms. Some rooms are so filled with insecurity, gossip, fear, and bitterness that they choke your creativity before it even has a chance to breathe. Some conversations are so saturated in limitation that you can feel your spirit shrinking just by listening. And if you don't protect your mind will be molded by the mediocrity around you. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You need to be in rooms that stretch you, challenge you, grow you. You need to be around people who remind you of what's possible. People who don't flinch when you talk big because they think even bigger. People who pray harder, build faster, and love deeper. People who will correct you when you drift and push you when you stall. That's not just community, that's covenant. Now listen carefully. This isn't about arrogance. This isn't about cutting people off with no love. This is about discernment. There are relationships for friendship and there are relationships for assignment. And one of the biggest mistakes you can make is treating an old comfort relationship like a current calling connection. Not everyone can go where God is taking you. And that's okay. Love them, bless them, release them, but stop shrinking to stay accessible. If you really want to elevate, you have to be intentional about your environment. That means evaluating your inputs. What are you watching? What are you listening to? What are you feeding your mind every single day? You can't binge garbage content all week and expect kingdom clarity on Sunday. You can't fill your mind with noise and expect divine downloads. If you want God to speak, you have to create space. Quiet the chaos. Turn down the distractions. Make room for the divine. Environment is not just about people. It's about atmosphere. It's about creating spaces that stir your spirit. Places that remind you who you are. Sounds that activate your vision. Words that fuel your faith. That might mean cleaning your house, turning off the news, upgrading your music, lighting a candle, or writing vision on the wall. Whatever you need to do to turn your space into sacred ground, do it, because your environment will preach to you every day. Make sure it's preaching purpose, not fear. And let's not forget, your physical location may be fixed, but your mental environment is your responsibility. Even if you can't move cities or change jobs right now, you can change what you feed your faith. You can choose who gets access to your energy. You can invest in mentorship, coaching, community, and conversations that pull you higher. Don't let a temporary situation become a permanent limitation. God is ready to elevate you. But the question is, can your environment support the elevation? Can your surroundings sustain the weight of the next level? Can your circle handle the oil on your life? If the answer is no,